Hello, today is Wednesday, January 28th, 2026, Anno Domini. We're all infinitely blessed just to be conscious, nonetheless to be able to shift our conscious awareness, depending on what we want, because God gives us free will. And so, to simplify, to put thoughts together, obviously, every breath, everyone has free will, if you want to be conscious of it or not. Father, in the name of Jesus, please help us to not over-focus on our breath or our thoughts or our memory, but please help us to maximize the joy in the moment. Anything we get to read, please help us not to be bored, Lord willing. But thank you that everything that we experience is turned into a blessing by your grace, your love, I believe. Genesis 31. Now he heard the things that Laban's sons were saying. Jacob has taken all that was our father's, and from that which was our father's, he has built up all this wealth. Jacob also saw that Laban's manner toward him was not as it had been in the past. Then Yahweh said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers, where you were born, and I will be with you. Jacob had Rachel and Leah called to the field where his flock was. And he said to them, I see that your father's manner toward me is not as it has been in the past, but Elohim, God, a perfectly loving, forming Father at every single moment. The God of my father has been with me. As you know, I have served your father with all my might. But your father has cheated me, changing my wages time and again. God, however, would not let him do me harm. If he said thus, the speckled shall be your wages, then all the flocks would drop speckled young. And if he said thus, the streak shall be your wages, then all the flocks would drop streaked young. God has taken away your father's livestock and given it to me. Once at the mating time of the flocks, I had a dream in which I saw that the he-goats mating with a flock were streaked, speckled, and molted. And in the dream, an angel of Elohim said to me, Jacob. Here, I answered. And he said, note well that all the he-goats which are mated with the flock are streaked, speckled, and molted. For I have noted all that Laban has done to you. Sorry, my neck is really aggravating me. Got a nice knot. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar. What's that verse? Who holds your head up? Or God says pretty much, I'm the one who holds your head up. And it's beautiful when you're going on a run or something like that and you're just dead. And it's just like, oh, wait a second. Yeah, of course, God gives me the strength, but he's the one who does it, right? I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed a pillar and where you made a vow to me. Now arise and leave this land and return to your native land. Then Rachel and Leah answered him, saying, have we still a share in the inheritance of our father's house? Surely he regards us as outsiders, now that he has sold us and has used our purchase price. Truly, all the wealth that God has taken away from our father belongs to us and our children. Now then, do just as God has told you. Thereupon Jacob put his children and wives on camels, and he drove off all his livestock, all the wealth that he had amassed, and the livestock in his possession that he had acquired in Padan Aram, to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Meanwhile, Laban had gone to shear his sheep, and Rachel stole his father's household idols. Plural, wow, okay. Jacob kept Laban and Aram in the dark, not telling him that he was fleeing, and fled with all that he had. Soon he was across the Euphrates, and headed toward the hill country of Gilead. On the third day, Laban was told that Jacob had left. He took his kinsman with him, pursued him at a distance of 7 days, catching up with him in the hill country of Gilead. But God appeared to Laban and Aram, the Aramean, in a dream by night, and said to him, "Beware of attempting anything with Jacob, good or bad." Laban overtook Jacob. Jacob had pitched his tent in the height, and Laban with his kinsmen encamped in the hill country of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, "What did you mean by keeping me in the dark and carrying off my daughters like captives of the sword? Why did you flee in secrecy and mislead me and not tell me? I would have set you off with a festive music, with a timbrel and lyre. And you did not even let me kiss my sons and daughters goodbye. It was a foolish thing for you to do. I have it in my power to do you harm. But Elohim of your father said to me last night, 'Beware of attempting anything with Jacob, good or bad.' Very well. You had to leave because you were longing for your father's house. But why did you steal my gods?" Jacob answered Laban, saying, "I was afraid because I thought you would take your daughters from me by force. But anyone with whom you find your God shall not remain alive. In the presence of our kinsmen, point out what I have taken of yours and take it." Jacob, of course, did not know that Rachel had stolen them. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and Leah's tent and the tents of the 2 maidservants, but he did not find them. Leaving Leah's tent, he entered Rachel's tent. Rachel, meanwhile, had taken the idols and placed them in the camel cushion and sat on them. And Laban rummaged through the tent without finding them. For she said to her father, "Let not my lord, my Adoni, my master, take it a mass, that I cannot rise before you. For the period of a woman is upon me." Thus he searched but could not find the household idols. Sorry for the mumble. Now Jacob became incensed and took up his grievance with Laban. Jacob spoke up and said to Laban, "What is my crime? What is my guilt that you should pursue me? You rummaged through all my things. What have you found of all our household objects? Set it here before my kinsmen and yours, and let them decide between us 2. These 20 years I have spent in your service. Your ewes, she-goats, never miscarried, nor did I feast on rams from your flock. That which was torn by beasts I never brought to you. I myself made good the loss. You exacted of me, whether snatched by the day or snatched by night. Often scorching heat ravaged me by day and frost by night, and sleep fled from my eyes. Of the 20 years that I spent in your household, I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters, and 6 years for your flocks. And you charged my wages time and again, changed. Had not the God of my father, the God of Abraham, the fear of Isaac, been with me, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God took notice of my plight and the toil of my hands, and he gave judgment last night. Then Laban spoke and said to Jacob, "The daughters are my daughters, the children are my children, the flocks are my flocks. All that you see is mine. Yet what can I do now about my daughters or the children they have borne? Come then, let us make a pact, you and I, that there may be a witness between you and me." Thereupon Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Jacob said to his kinsmen, quote, "Gather stones." So they took stones and made a mound, and they partook of a meal there by the mound. Laban named it Yagar Shahadath, but Jacob named it Galad. And Laban declared, "This mound is a witness between you and me this day." That is why it was named Golan, and it was called Mizpah, because he said, "May watch between me and you when we are out of sight of each other. If you ill-treat my daughters, or take other wives besides my daughters, though no one else be about, remember, God himself will be my witness between you and me." And Laban said to Jacob, "Here is this mound, and here the pillar which I have set up between you and me. This mound shall be witness, and this pillar shall be witness that I am not to cross your past, this mound, and that you are not to cross my past, this mound, and this pillar with hostile intent. May the God of Abraham and the God of Noah and their ancestral deities judge between us." And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Jacob then offered up a sacrifice on the heights and invited his kinsmen to partake of the meal. After the meal, they spent the night on the height. Chapter 32 of Genesis. Early in the morning, Laban kissed his sons and daughters and bade them goodbye. Then Laban left on his journey homeward. Jacob went on his way, and angels of God encountered him. When he saw them, Jacob said, "This is God's camp," and he named that place Mahanaim. Jacob sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, and instructed them as follows: "Thus shall you say to my Adoni, Esau, thus says your servant Jacob, I stayed with Laban." So he calls Esau his master, his lord, even though he stole not only the birthright, but also the blessing of all his siblings would serve him, would be his slaves, I think, right? Just read yesterday, I believe. "Thus says your servant Jacob, I stayed with Laban and remained until now. I have acquired cattle, asses, sheep, male and female slaves, and I sent this message to my Adoni, my lord, in the hope of gaining your favor." The messengers returned to Jacob, saying, "We came to your brother Esau. He himself is coming to meet you, and there are 400 men with him." Jacob was greatly frightened in his anxiety. He divided the people with him, and the flocks and the herds and the camels in 2 camps, thinking of Esau. If Esau comes to the one camp and attacks it, the other camp may yet escape. Then Jacob said, "O God of my father Abraham, and God of my father Isaac, Yahweh, who said to me, 'Return to your native land, and I will dwell bountifully with you,' deal. I am unworthy of all the kindness that you have so steadfastly shown your servant. With my staff alone, I crossed this Jordan, and now I've become 2 camps. Deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, else I fear he may come and strike me down, mothers and children alike. Yet you have said, I will deal bountifully with you and make your offspring as the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count." After spending the night there, he settled from what was at hand these presents for his brother Esau: 200 she-goats, 20 he-goats, 200 ewes, 20 rams, 30 Moloch camels with their colts, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 she-asses and 10 he-asses. Then he put in charge of his servants, drove by drove, and he told his servants, "Go on ahead and keep a distance between droves." And he instructed the one in front as follows: "When my brother Esau meets you and asks you, 'Whose men are you? Where are you going? And whose animals are these ahead of you?' you shall answer, 'Your servant Jacob's. They are gifts sent to my lord Esau, and Jacob himself is right behind us.'" And he gave similar instructions to the second one, and the third, and all the others who followed the droves, namely, "Thus and so shall you say to Esau when you reach him, and you shall add, 'And your servant Jacob himself is right behind us.' For a reason, if I propitiate him with presents in advance, and then face him, perhaps he will show me favor. And so the gift went on ahead, while he remained in camp that night. The same night he arose, and taking his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 children, he crossed the ford of Jacobah. After taking them across the stream, he sent across all his possessions. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When he saw that he had not prevailed against him, I want to go back real quick. Then the same night he arose, and taking his 2 wives, his 2 maidservants, and his 11 children, he crossed the ford of Jacobah. After taking them across the stream, he sent across all his possessions. Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled him until the break of dawn. When he saw that he had not prevailed against him, he wrenched Jacob's hip at its socket, so the socket of the hip was strained as he wrestled with him. Then he said, "Let me go, for dawn is breaking." But he answered, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Said the other, "What is your name?" He replied, "Jacob." Said he, "Your name shall no longer be Jacob, but Israel, for you have striven with beings divine and human, and have prevailed." Jacob asked, "Pray tell me your name." But he said, "You must not ask my name." And he took leave of him there. So Jacob named that place Peniel, meaning I have seen a divine being face to face, yet my life has been preserved. The sun rose upon him as he passed Peniel, limping on his hip. That is why the children of Israel to this day do not eat the thigh muscle that is on the socket of the hip, since Jacob's hip socket was wrenched at the thigh muscle. Genesis 33. Looking up, Jacob saw Esau accompanied by 400 men. He divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the 2 maids, putting the maids and their children first, Leah and her children next, Rachel and Joseph last. He himself went on ahead and bowed low to the ground 7 times until he was near his brother. Esau ran to greet him. He embraced him, and falling on his neck, he kissed him, and they wept. Blessed are they who mourn, for they will be comforted. Looking about, he saw the women and the children. Who, he asked, are these with you? He answered, the children with whom God has favored your servant. Then the maids with their children came forward and bowed low. Next, Leah and her children came forward and bowed low. And last, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed low. And he asked, what did you mean by all this company which I have met? He answered, to gain my Lord's favor. Esau said, I have enough, my brother. Let what you have remain yours. But Jacob said, no, I pray you, if you would do me this favor, accept from me this gift. For to see your face is like seeing the face of God. And you have received me favorably. Please accept my present, which has been brought to you. For God has favored me, and I have plenty. And when he urged him, he accepted. And Esau said, let us start on our journey, and I will proceed at your pace. But he said to him, my Lord knows that the children are frail, and that the flocks and herds are frail, and that the flocks and herds, which are nursing, are a care to me. If they are driven hard a single day, all flocks will die. Let my Lord go on ahead of a servant while I travel slowly, at the pace of the cattle before me, and at the pace of the children, until I come to my Lord in Senir. Then Esau said, let me assign to you some of the men who are with me. But he said, oh no, my Lord is too kind to me. So Esau started back that day on his way to Seir. But Jacob journeyed on to Succoth, and built a house for himself, and made stalls for his cattle. That is why the place is called Succoth. Jacob arrived safe in the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, having come thus from Padan Aram, and he encamped before the city. The parcel of land where he had pitched his tent, he purchased from the children of Hamor, Shechem's father, for 100 kessetes. He set up an altar there and called it Elah Israel. Genesis 34. Now Diana, the daughter whom Leah had borne to Jacob, went out to visit the daughters of the land. Shechem, son of Hamor, the Hivite, chief of the country, saw her and took her and lay with her by force. Being strongly drawn to Diana, daughter of Jacob, and in love with the maiden, he spoke to the maiden tenderly. So Shechem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this girl as a wife." Jacob heard that he had defiled his daughter Diana, but since his sons were in the field with his cattle, Jacob kept silent until they came home. Then Shechem's father Hamor came out to Jacob to speak to him. Meanwhile, Jacob's sons, having heard the news, came in from the field. The men were distressed and very angry because he had committed an outrage in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing not to be done. And Hamor spoke with them, saying, "My son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him in marriage. Intermarry with us. Give us your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. You will dwell among us, and the land will be open for you. Settle, move about, and acquire holdings in it." Then Shechem said to his father and brothers, "Do me this favor, and I will pay whatever you tell me. Ask of me a bride price, ever so high, as well as gifts, and I will pay what you tell me. Only give me the maiden for a wife." Jacob's sons answered Shechem and his father Hamor, speaking with guile, because he had defiled their sister Diana, and said to them, "We cannot do this thing, to give our daughter to a man who is uncircumcised, for that is a disgrace among us. Only on this condition will we agree with you, that you will become like us, in that every male among you is circumcised. Then we will give our daughters to you and take your daughters to ourselves, and we will dwell among you and become one kindred. But if you will not listen to us and become circumcised, we will take our daughters and go." Their words pleased Hamor and Hamor's son Shechem, and the youth lost no time in doing the thing, for he wanted Jacob's daughter. Now he was the most respected in his father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the public place of their town and spoke to their fellow townsmen, saying, "These people are our friends. Let them settle in the land and move about in it, for the land is large enough for them. We will take their daughters to ourselves as wives and give our daughters to them. But only on this condition will the men agree with us to dwell among us and be as one kindred, that all our males become circumcised." As they are circumcised. Their cattle and substance and all their beasts will be ours, if we only agree to their terms. So they will settle among us. All who went out of the gate of his town, heeded Hamor and his son Shechem, and all males, all those who went out of the gate of his town were circumcised on the third day, when they were in pain. Simeon and Levi, two of Jacob's sons, brothers of Diana, took each his sword, came upon the city unmolested, and slew all the males. They put Hamor and his son Shechem to the sword, took Diana out of Shechem's house, and went away. The other sons of Jacob came upon the slain, and plundered the town, because their sister had been defiled. They seized their flocks and herds and asses, all that was inside the town and outside, all their wealth, all their children and their wives, all that was in the houses, they took as captives and booty. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble on me, making me odious among the inhabitants of the land. The Canaanites, the Perizzites, my men are few in number, so if they unite against me and attack me, I and my house will be destroyed." But they answered, "Should our sister be treated like a whore?" Genesis 35. God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel, house of bread, and remain there. Build an altar there to Elohim, who appeared to you when you were fleeing from your brother Esau." So Jacob said to his household and to all who were with him, rid yourselves of the alien gods in your midst. Purify yourselves and change your clothes. Come, let us go up to Bethel, and I will build an altar there to Elohim, who answered me when I was in distress, who has been with me wherever I have gone. They gave Jacob all the alien gods that they had and the rings that were in their ears. And Jacob buried them under the terebinth that was near Shechem. As they set out, a terror from God fell on the cities round about, so they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. Thus Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. There he built an altar and named the site El Bethel, for it was there that God revealed himself to him when he was fleeing from his brother. Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried under the oak below Bethel. So it was named Elon Bakoth. God appeared again to Jacob on his arrival from Paddan Aram, and he blessed him. God said to him, "You whose name is Jacob, you shall be called Jacob no more, but Israel shall be your name, to wrestle with God." Thus he named him Israel. And God said to him, "I am El Shaddai. Be fertile and increase. A nation, ye an assembly of nations, shall descend from you. Kings shall issue from your loins. The land that I assigned to Abraham and to Isaac, I assign to you. And to your offspring to come, I will assign the land." God parted from him at the spot where he had spoken to him. And Jacob set up a pillar at the site where he had spoken to him, a pillar of stone, and he offered a libation on it and poured oil upon it. Jacob gave the site where God had spoken to him the name of Bethel, house of bread, I believe. They set out from Bethel, but when they were still some distance short of Ephrath, Rachel was in childbirth, and she had hard labor. When her labor was at its hardest, the midwife said to her, "Have no fear, for it is another boy for you." But as she breathed her last, she was dying. She named him Ban Ani, but his father called him Benjamin. Thus Rachel died. She was buried on the road to Ephrath, now Bethlehem. Over her grave, Jacob set up a pillar. It is the pillar at Rachel's grave to this day. Israel journeyed on and pitched his tent beyond Migdal el-Edar. While Israel stayed in that land, Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel found out. Now the sons of Jacob were 12 in number. The sons of Leah, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel, Joseph, Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maid, Dan and Nephi. The sons of Zilpah, Leah's maid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, who were born to him in Paddan Aram. And Jacob came to his father Isaac at Meron, at Kiriath Aram, now Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had journeyed. Isaac was 180 years old when he breathed his last and died. He was gathered to his kin in ripe old age, and he was buried by his sons Esau and Jacob. Thank you, Father, for loving all of us with all of your heart, all of your soul, of your mind, and your strength, and loving us as you love yourself. Please help us to do the same. Thank you so much for these stories we get to learn from and grow from. And thank you that we know by your grace and your timing that you're building yourself up in us. All 8 billion people are your temple. It's so infinitely beautiful. Thank you for every bit of faith you have given us. Thank you for the lack of faith. Allows us to comprehend, realize, and feel, and understand faith. Thank you for loving us. Let's do the same. Thank you for watching. I hope it's added to your life in a positive way. And have a wonderful day.